Despite imposing a 2-month-long nationwide lockdown, the most stringent across the globe, the total number of positive cases currently comes in at over 2.16 lakh. What is worse, many states have now started to report a rise in COVID cases among the migrant workers who travelled from other states. The Health Ministry, however, claims that India's fatality rate remains one of the lowest in the world, which is a fact, and that there has been no widespread community transmission. Medical experts believe otherwise. A joint statement released by 3 medical professional associations 2 weeks ago said that community transmission is already well established across large sections or subpopulations in the country. Further, the joint statement points out that had the government consulted epidemiologists who had a better grasp of disease transmission dynamics compared to modeler
health policy, the way it was evolved, it's called the triangle that moves the mountain. And the triangle has 3 angles, and the 3 angles are denoted by S for scientist, second S for society, and third S for the statesmanship. Now let's come to the scientist. This is a classical case where this was a race which had to be run on the ground. And we asked the fish, which is very good in swimming in the water, that can you run the race on the ground? This is a specialized area. Public health, epidemiology, and behavioral science is a specialized area. Now tell me, who are the experts who came on the TV? What disciplines did they belong to? Cardiology, cardiothoracic surgery, gastroenterology. So you didn't choose the right kind of people to give you an advice. You chose fish, and you wanted the fish to run the race and win it. You should have chosen the rabbits. Let's soar from each other's strengths. So that's the science part of it. The society part is that we are a democracy. Have the people been taken into confidence in terms of what needs to be done? So that is another important thing. Democracy, we have people's elected representatives. As I said, this is a classical case of wisdom by hindsight. Now, henceforth, let's get our act together, because I'll tell you a story. We are all caught in a net. This is a hunter's net, story of pigeons where the hunter has thrown the net. That's the Koraina. And we have to get away from this net. So the pigeon leader said, let's hold the net by the beak and let's fly together. So one important message that I want to go through is that we are all together. We need to fly together to escape from the coronavirus. So the pigeons flew at a long distance from the hunter's place, and they came to the ground. And they asked their dear friend rat, incidentally, this is the rat of the Chinese. That's why we're staying like rats in the house. They asked their friends of rats to get rid of the net, and that's how it helped. And that's how the pigeons got free. So one important message I want to say that we are all in it together. There is no either or not, there are no ifs and buts. It's just going to be a story of and. That's one important message. So use interim measures to have decentralized healthcare systems where people who are infected can be isolated, quarantined, and taken appropriate care. To me, that's the way to do it. Move as much as decentralization as possible, because there's going to be a movement, and then we'll have to have a series of protocols in terms of making sure that there is an order in the people that are seeking treatment. The most challenging part of this particular virus is what we call as asymptomatic but infected. They are the super spreaders. Now that's something we have to come into terms. That they are not visible, they're invisible. Anybody could be a super spreader. He's asymptomatic but infected. So therefore, we have only two options. Number one, take extreme personal protective measures. And here I see 2 components. One is called the face hygiene, other is the washroom hygiene. The face hygiene, you have the mask, and you have to wear that mask for 3 reasons. One is that if you are infected with coronavirus, you reduce the probability of transmitting the virus to the other person. That's number one. Number 2, when you're coughing, sneezing, or talking, you're again reducing the thing. The third thing is the grand balance of the coronavirus in the nasopharyngeal regions. So that's how we wear the mask. That comes as a physical barrier. The second thing is almost 80 to 90 times, without our knowledge, we touch our face, ears. You know, so I coined the term men. Keep men away. Keep mouth away. Keep eyes away. Keep nose away. So that's a simple thing of 7 pandemics going on. 7 pandemics. First is the pandemic of corona that we are struggling, and it seems to be in a pretty good condition to address that with the possibility of upsurge in the cases because we opened the floodgates. That's number one. The second thing is we had a pandemic of over-information. 90% of the space in the media and print media was occupied by corona, as if nothing is happening in the other part of the world. The third pandemic we had is a pandemic of misinformation, disinformation, distorted information, and incomplete information. The fourth pandemic we had are people who became experts by looking at Google experts. The fifth one was pandemic of fear. Pandemic of fear, that was more serious than the disease itself. The sixth one is pandemic of misery that the country is currently going through. Because the other side of the equation, we did not at all focus ourselves sufficiently enough to handle it. Now the question of migrants moving, the question of people who are on immunosuppressions, those people who are having stroke, those are having serious problems. The hospitals were locked, the government hospitals. So what happens to those people